Hey guys, tonight we slip into the shadows of the medieval world, where you are about to become a silent blade in the night, an assassin in a time of crusades, caliphs, and crumbling empires. Picture this. The year is roughly 1190, and the air is thick with the scent of dust and destiny. You probably would not survive this life with its whispered oaths and deadly stakes, but let us see how you fare. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you are drifting off from tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let us ease into tonight's journey together. You stand at the edge of a rugged cliff, the wind tugging at your coarse wool cloak as it carries the faint tang of pine and distant cook fires from the valley below. The moon hangs low, a silver crescent casting just enough light to outline the jagged peaks of the Alborz Mountains, where the fortress of Alamut looms like a stone sentinel in what is now northern Persia. This is no fairy tale castle with banners and feasts. It is a place of secrets, where the Order of the Assassins, the Hashashin, carve their legend into history. You have been summoned, though you are not entirely sure how you caught their eye. Perhaps it was your quick hands in the market, lifting a merchant's purse without a sound, or the way you slipped through a crowd unseen during a village riot. Whatever it was, a hooded figure found you days ago, pressing a scrap of parchment into your palm with a single word. Come. Now here you are, heart thudding as you climb a narrow path, the gravel crunching under your sandals, each step pulling you deeper into a life most only whisper about in fear. The air grows cooler as you ascend, and the faint bleat of goats echoes from some unseen slope, grounding you in this strange, quiet world. The Order, founded by Hassani Saba in 1090, a well-known historical fact etched into the chronicles of the Crusades, is no mere band of cutthroats. It is a disciplined brotherhood wielding terror as a precise tool against warlords and sultans. Their reputation precedes them, stories of men who strike like ghosts and vanish before the blood dries. Yet, as you pause to catch your breath, you notice something peculiar, a single white flower, delicate and out of place, clinging to a crack in the rock. A lesser-known detail, these mountains are home to rare alpine blooms, symbols of resilience in a harsh land, much like the assassins themselves. You wonder if it is a sign or just nature's indifference. Your guide, a silent figure whose face remains half hidden, gestures for you to move faster. The path twists upward, and the fortress gates come into view. Massive wooden slabs reinforced with iron, carved with geometric patterns that seem to shift in the moonlight. You feel the weight of eyes watching from unseen perches, archers or sentinels perhaps, ensuring no uninvited soul crosses this threshold. Historians still wonder if the Hashashin's secrecy was their greatest weapon, or if their legend was half built on the fear they sowed in their enemies' minds. You push the thought aside as the gates creak open, revealing a courtyard bathed in torchlight. Men and women move with purpose, their robes blending into the shadows, their voices low and deliberate. You are not sure if you are a guest or a prisoner, but the air hums with a strange calm, like the quiet before a storm. Your guide leads you to a stone bench where you sit, the cold seeping through your cloak. A man approaches, older, with a beard like spun silver and eyes that seem to see through you. He introduces himself as a teacher, though his name is not offered, and his tone carries a dry amusement, as if he knows you are already questioning your decision to come. You think you're clever, he says, but cleverness is a candle in a gale without discipline. You smirk, because who does not love a cryptic warning? He hands you a small polished stone, warm from his palm, and tells you to keep it as a reminder. Every choice you make here is a step toward life or death. The stone is smooth, almost comforting, and you slip it into your pocket, wondering if it is a token of trust or a test. The courtyard around you is alive with subtle sounds, sandals scuffing stone, the clink of metal from a distant forge, the soft murmur of a fountain you cannot see. It is oddly soothing, this blend of danger and tranquility, and you feel your shoulders relax just a fraction. The teacher explains that Alamut is more than a fortress. It is a world unto itself, a place where loyalty is forged in blood and silence. You learn that the term assassin itself, derived from hashashin, may come from the Arabic hashish, a quirky detail debated by scholars who argue whether the order used the drug to inspire visions or if it was merely a slur spread by enemies. Either way, you sense no haze of narcotics here, only the sharp clarity of purpose. The teacher gestures toward a dark archway, where your training will begin at dawn. You are to sleep now in a small cell with a straw mat and a single blanket, the kind of simplicity that makes you miss the chaos of the village tavern. As you follow him, the torchlight flickers, casting shadows that dance like specters on the walls. You pass a group of trainees, their faces unreadable, and one offers a nod. Friendship or pity, you cannot tell. The cell is as promised, small, cold, but strangely inviting, with the faint scent of cedar from the wooden beams above. You lie down, the straw crunching beneath you, and the teacher's parting words linger. Rest, for tomorrow you begin to unlearn who you were. You clutch the stone in your pocket, its warmth a faint anchor as the sounds of the fortress fade into a distant hum. The wind outside whistles softly, carrying the promise of secrets yet to unfold. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A faint scratch at the door, too deliberate to be the wind. You sit up, heart racing, wondering if this is your first test or something far worse. The night stretches on, and you are left to decide, open the door or wait for dawn. The scratch at the door fades into silence, and you decide to let the night keep its secrets, settling back onto the straw mat as the cedar-scented air lulls you into a restless sleep. Dawn creeps through the narrow slit of a window, painting the stone walls of your cell with a soft, golden glow, and the distant clang of a bell jolts you awake. You rise, muscles stiff from the thin mat, and step into the courtyard of Alamut, where the air hums with purpose and the faint scent of dew on stone. The fortress is alive now, bathed in the early light, its towers casting long shadows like fingers reaching across the mountains. You are no longer just a wanderer who stumbled into this place. Today, you begin the grueling transformation into something sharper, something lethal. The teacher from last night, his silver beard catching the sunrise, beckons you to join a group of trainees, silent figures in loose tunics, their faces a mix of determination and quiet fear. You fall into step, your sandals scuffing the worn stones, and feel the weight of the polished stone still tucked in your pocket, a reminder of choices yet to come. The training ground is a wide, open space, encircled by high walls, where the wind carries the faint tang of sweat and iron. Your first task is simple but brutal. Run the perimeter until you cannot, then run again. The teacher's voice cuts through the morning chill, dry and biting. If you collapse, the enemy will not offer you tea. You almost laugh, but the burn in your legs stifles it. The Order of the Assassins, known for their disciplined training as much as their deadly strikes, a historical fact recorded by chroniclers like Marco Polo, demands physical endurance that borders on the absurd. Your lungs ache as you circle the courtyard, the other trainees' breaths puffing in rhythm, their faces blurring into a shared struggle. A lesser-known detail tickles your mind as you run. The Hashashin reportedly trained in extreme conditions, sometimes fasting for days to sharpen their focus. A practice that sounds noble until your stomach growls like an angry dog. You wonder if that is in your future, and the thought is less than comforting. The teacher halts you after what feels like an eternity, though the sun has barely climbed. Next comes the blade. Wooden for now, thank the stars. You are paired with a wiry trainee named Khalid, whose quick grin hides a flicker of mischief. He lunges without warning, and you barely dodge, the wooden dagger grazing your sleeve. Slow, he teases, and you mutter something about his mother's cooking, earning a laugh that echoes off the walls. The teacher's eyes narrow, but he says nothing, only gestures to a series of targets, straw-stuffed figures dangling from ropes. You learn to strike with precision, aiming for the throat, the heart, the space between ribs where a blade slips clean. Each movement is a dance, deliberate and fluid, and the teacher's voice is a steady hum, guiding you to feel the weight of the weapon as an extension of your arm. The morning bleeds into afternoon, and you are taught to climb, ropes first, then the rough-hewn walls of the fortress itself. Your fingers scrape against stone, and you curse under your breath as a pebble skitters loose, nearly sending you tumbling. The teacher, ever the poet, calls down, "Gravity is a poor assassin's friend." You grit your teeth and climb higher, the wind tugging at your tunic, the valley sprawling below like a tapestry of greens and browns. Historians still wonder if the Hashashin S training was as much about mental fortitude as physical skill. Did they break you to rebuild you, or was it all just survival? Your arms tremble as you reach the top, and Khalid, already perched there, offers a hand with a smirk that says he knows you hate him just a little. The day is not done. You are led to a shaded corner where an older woman, her hands calloused and eyes sharp, teaches you to read the stars. Navigation, she explains, is life when you must slip through enemy lands unseen. The constellations, Orion, Ursa Major, become your map, their patterns etched into your mind as she points with a gnarled stick. You trace the lines in the sky, feeling oddly soothed by their permanence in a world that feels anything but. She shares a quirky fact. The Hashashin sometimes used star charts scratched into tiny clay tablets, small enough to hide in a sandal, a secret that feels like a gift from the past. You practice until your eyes blur, the stars blending into the torchlight as evening falls. The final task is meditation, a strange contrast to the day's brutality. You sit cross-legged on a woven mat, the courtyard now quiet save for the chirp of crickets and the distant hoot of an owl. The teacher instructs you to empty your mind, to become the shadow itself. You try, but your thoughts wander to the scratch at the door last night, to the flower on the cliff, to Khalid's infuriating grin. "Focus," the teacher snaps, and you swear he is smirking under that beard. You breathe deep, the air cool and tinged with the scent of burning oil from nearby lamps. The meditation is meant to hone your instincts, to make you a blade that does not hesitate. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A rustle in the nearby bushes, too sharp to be the wind. Your eyes flick open, and you notice Khalid tense beside you, his hand inching toward his wooden dagger. The teacher's gaze is steady, watching, waiting. Is this another test, or has danger already found you? The courtyard holds its breath, and you realize this life will never let you rest easy. The rustle in the bushes fades, and the teacher's sharp gaze softens, a faint smirk betraying that this was indeed another test. Your instincts were right to stay alert, but you sense the order delights in keeping you guessing. You exhale, the tension easing from your shoulders as you rise from the meditation mat, the cool evening air brushing your skin with the scent of damp stone and distant jasmine. The courtyard empties, trainees slipping into the fortress's shadowed corridors, and you follow, your body aching from the day's trials, but your mind buzzing with the strange allure of this place. You are led through a low archway, down a winding staircase that smells of ancient dust and wax, into the heart of Alamut, a labyrinth of chambers and secrets that feels like stepping into a dream. The walls are carved with intricate patterns, geometric swirls that catch the torchlight and seem to shift as you pass, as if whispering tales of those who walked these halls before you. This is no mere fortress. It is a sanctuary, a paradox of danger and serenity, where the Hashashin hone their craft and guard their mysteries. You pause at a heavy wooden door, its surface etched with a crescent moon, and your guide, a new figure, silent and cloaked, pushes it open to reveal a library unlike any you have seen. Shelves tower to the ceiling, crammed with scrolls and leather-bound tomes, the air thick with the musty scent of parchment and ink. A single candle flickers on a table, casting a warm glow over a map of the Levant, its edges curling like a secret about to unfold. You are told to sit, and a scholar, her voice soft but commanding, begins to unravel the order's hidden knowledge. The Hashashin, known for their strategic strikes against figures like the Seljuk vizier Nizam al-Mulk in 1092, a historical fact that sent ripples through the medieval world, were not just killers, they were scholars of war studying their enemies' languages, customs, and weaknesses. You trace your fingers over the map, feeling the worn parchment, and the scholar points to cities like Damascus and Jerusalem, places you will learn to navigate as easily as your own shadow. She shares a lesser-known detail. The Order maintained secret libraries across their fortresses, filled with texts on everything from Persian poetry to Greek philosophy, because a blade is useless without a mind to guide it. You smirk at the thought. Imagine an assassin quoting Rumi before a kill. The scholar catches your expression and raises an eyebrow, muttering, "Laugh now, but ignorance is a heavier chain than iron." You swallow your amusement and focus as she hands you a small codex. Its pages filled with Arabic script and diagrams of human anatomy. This, she explains, is your first lesson in precision, knowing where to strike to end a life swiftly or to wound just enough to send a message. The diagrams are eerily beautiful, lines tracing veins and organs with an artist's care, and you feel a strange calm studying them, as if death could be an art form. The lesson shifts to poisons, and a tray appears with vials of dark liquids and powders that shimmer like crushed stars. Belladonna, hemlock, and a mysterious blend called the widow's tears. You are told to memorize their scents, their textures, their effects. One vial smells faintly of almonds, and you wonder if you will ever trust a meal again. The scholar's dry humor surfaces as she warns, "Spill this in your soup and you will sleep longer than you planned." You nod, half expecting her to test you by slipping something into your water. Hours pass in the library and your eyes grow heavy, but the scholar's voice is a steady rhythm guiding you through texts on stealth strategy and even the art of conversation. Because a well-placed word can open doors, a dagger cannot. You learn of the Order's code: never harm the innocent, only those marked by the Old Man of the Mountain, a rule that feels oddly noble until you remember the blood it still demands. Historians still wonder if this code was a moral compass or a pragmatic shield, protecting the Order from turning into mindless mercenaries. You pause to stretch, your fingers brushing a shelf where a small carved wooden bird sits, a quirky relic, perhaps left by a bored assassin centuries ago. Its tiny beak chipped as if it tried to escape its maker's hand. The scholar notices and chuckles, a rare break in her severity, and you feel a flicker of connection to this strange world. As night deepens, you are led to another chamber, this one open to the sky, where a garden blooms under the stars. The air is sweet with the scent of roses and myrrh, and a fountain burbles softly, its water catching the moonlight like liquid silver. You are told to walk the paths, to let the garden's peace sink into you, because an assassin must know both chaos and calm. The flowers are vibrant, reds and purples glowing in the dim light, and you recall a tale whispered among trainees. The gardens of Alamut were said to mimic paradise, a lure for recruits or a reward for the faithful. You run your hand over a velvety petal, wondering if paradise is worth the price of a blade. The garden feels alive, its shadows shifting as clouds pass overhead. And you sit by the fountain, the cool stone soothing your tired legs. A breeze carries the faint sound of a lute from somewhere deep in the fortress, a haunting melody that makes you think of home, wherever that was before this life claimed you. The scholar joins you, her presence less stern now, and she speaks of the Order's philosophy, to strike for a greater purpose, to shape history with a single cut. It sounds grand, but you catch the sarcasm in her tone, as if she knows the world rarely thanks those who work in shadows. You ask about the scratching at your door, the rustle in the bushes, and she only smiles, saying, "Alamut tests the watchful." You roll your eyes. Cryptic answers are apparently a requirement here. The night grows colder, and you are given a woolen blanket to wrap around your shoulders as you linger in the garden. The stars above are brighter than you remember, each one a silent witness to the secrets buried in these mountains. You think of Khalid, his grin, and the wooden dagger that nearly caught you today, and you wonder if he is studying in some other chamber or facing his own tests. The fountain's rhythm is hypnotic, pulling you towards sleep. But the scholar's final words keep you alert. Tomorrow, you will learn to wear another's face. You imagine yourself as a merchant, a monk, a beggar, slipping through the world unseen, and the thought is both thrilling and unnerving. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A shadow moves at the garden's edge, too swift to be a trick of the light. Your hand instinctively reaches for the stone in your pocket, its warmth grounding you as your heart quickens. The scholar is gone, and you are alone with the night, the fountain's murmur, now a faint warning. Is this another test, or has Alamut's true danger begun to show itself? The shadow at the garden's edge vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving you alone with the fountain, its gentle murmur and the weight of the polished stone in your pocket, its warmth a quiet anchor against the night's uncertainties. You wrap the woolen blanket tighter around your shoulders, the chill of the mountain air seeping into your bones, and make your way back through the star-lit garden, the scent of roses lingering like a half-remembered dream. The lute's distant melody fades as you climb a narrow staircase, guided by a flickering torch that casts long, wavering shadows on the stone walls. Your footsteps echo softly, each one a reminder that you are deeper in Alamut's embrace, a place where every corner holds a lesson or a trap. Today you are to learn the art of disguise and deception, the craft that turns an assassin into a ghost who walks among the living. You emerge into a low-ceilinged chamber, its air thick with the scent of charcoal wax and something sharper, perhaps the tang of crushed herbs or dye. The room is a chaos of tables strewn with fabrics, clay pots, small mirrors, and bundles of straw that smell faintly of the fields they came from. A new teacher awaits, a wiry woman with sharp cheekbones and fingers stained indigo, her eyes glinting with a mix of amusement and scrutiny that makes you feel like a scroll she is about to unroll and judge. She introduces herself as Zainab, though you suspect that name is as much a disguise as the robes she wears. You think you can hide by standing still, she says, her voice dry as the desert wind. But the world sees you unless you become someone else. You nod, picturing yourself slipping through a crowded market, unnoticed, a shadow among merchants and pilgrims. Her raised eyebrow suggests you are about to learn how naive that thought is, and you brace yourself for a day that will likely leave you questioning everything, including your own reflection. Zainab gestures to a pile of clothing, tunics, cloaks, headscarves in every shade of earth. Hand sky, some patched and worn, others vibrant with dyes that smell of saffron and indigo. This is no mere costume chest. It is a treasury of identities, each piece a key to a new life. The Hashashin, known for their uncanny ability to infiltrate courts and camps, evidenced by their assassination of Conrad of Montferrat in 1192, a historical fact that sent shockwaves through the Crusader kingdoms, relied on blending into the world they sought to unravel. Zainab hands you a merchant's robe. Its coarse wool dyed a rich saffron that carries the faint warm scent of turmeric, like a spice stall in a bustling bazaar. You slip it on, the fabric heavy and unfamiliar, scratching against your skin, and she adjusts it with quick, practiced hands, tucking and folding until you look like a trader fresh from Damascus. She steps back, tilts her head, and mutters, "Not bad," but your face betrays you. You catch your reflection in a small, clouded mirror, and she is right. Your eyes are too wide, too alert, like a deer sensing a hunter in the underbrush. She teaches you to soften your gaze, to slump your shoulders just enough to seem unremarkable, to let your hands hang loose instead of poised for action. You practice until your muscles ache from holding the pose, your body fighting to return to its natural tension. Zainab watches, her lips twitching as if she knows how absurd you feel, and you mutter under your breath about the injustice of being judged by your eyebrows. She hears and snorts. Eyebrows have killed more men than swords. You laugh, half expecting her to be serious, and the sound echoes in the chamber, startling a small bird that flutters from a hidden perch. Probably not part of the lesson, but with Alamut, who can tell? The lesson shifts to speech, and Zainab is relentless, her voice a steady rhythm that both soothes and intimidates. She drills you on accents, Persian with its flowing cadence, Arabic with its guttural depth, even the clipped nasal tones of a Frankish pilgrim fresh from the West. Each one is a key to a new identity, a door to a world you must enter without hesitation. You stumble over the Arabic, your tongue tripping on the unfamiliar sounds, and Zainab smirks, saying, "A bad accent is a death sentence with better manners." The truth stings. One wrong word could unravel your disguise, leaving you exposed in a hostile court or market. You try again, mimicking her cadence, and when you finally string together a passable sentence, she nods, a rare approval that feels like a small victory in this endless gauntlet of tests. She shares a lesser-known detail, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. The Hashashin sometimes carried tiny scrolls, hidden in their clothing, inscribed with phrases in foreign tongues, to practice on the road, small enough to tuck into a sandal or sew into a hem. The image of an assassin muttering verbs under their breath while dodging guards is so absurd you almost laugh, but the practicality of it grounds you. This is a craft of meticulous survival. The chamber grows warmer as more lamps are lit, their flames casting a golden glow that makes the fabrics around you shimmer like a mirage. Zainab moves you to cosmetics, introducing a tray of powders and pastes that smell of earth, herbs, and something faintly metallic. She shows you how to darken your brows with charcoal to add a scar with wax, to age your face with subtle lines of clay mixed with crushed beetle shells for color. The process is oddly soothing, each brush stroke a step away from the person you were, and you find yourself lost in the rhythm, the soft scrape of the brush against your skin, the faint scent of lavender in one of the pastes. Your reflection in the mirror becomes a stranger, a weathered trader with sunken eyes and a crooked nose, crafted with such care you almost believe you have lived his life. Zainab chuckles. Now you are no one, which is exactly who you must be. The words settle over you like a cloak, and you wonder if you will ever see your true face the same way again. But the calm is fleeting. Zainab hands you a basket of goods, dates, bolts of cloth, a small knife hidden beneath, and tells you to walk the chamber as if selling wares in a bazaar. You hesitate, feeling ridiculous, your hands clumsy with the basket's weight, but her glare pushes you forward. You weave between tables, muttering prices and pleasantries, trying to channel the merchants you have seen in dusty markets, their voices loud but eyes watchful. Zainab follows, pointing out every flaw. Your stride is too confident, your hands too tense, your smile too forced. A merchant does not move like a wolf, she snaps, and you wonder if you will ever shed the instincts that betray you. You try again, slowing your steps, letting your shoulders sag, and she nods, though her expression suggests you are still a work in progress. The lesson stretches on, and you practice other roles. A pilgrim with a staff, its wood worn smooth by countless hands, a beggar with tattered rags that smell of smoke and despair, a scribe with ink-stained fingers and a perpetual squint. Each role requires a new posture, a new voice, a new way of seeing the world, and you feel your mind stretching to hold them all. Zainab tells you of a time she posed as a healer to enter a warlord's camp, her herbs laced with just enough truth to gain trust, her hands steady as she mixed remedies and secrets. You imagine the courage it took, or perhaps the recklessness, and wonder if you will ever be so bold, or if you even want to be. Historians still debate whether the Hashashin-S disguises were their greatest strength or a necessity, born of their small numbers. Did they thrive because they could be anyone, or because they had no choice but to vanish into the crowd? The question lingers as you slip into a monk's robe, its coarse wool scratching your skin, and Zainab teaches you to move slowly, to bow your head in mock humility. The role feels heavy, its weight more than just fabric, and you find a strange peace in its simplicity, as if the world's chaos cannot touch a man who carries only prayers. The chamber is quiet now, save for the soft clink of vials and the rustle of fabric, and you realize hours have passed, the lamps burning low, their light pooling like liquid gold on the stone floor. Zainab leads you to a corner where a small mirror hangs, its surface clouded but clear enough to show your new face. A monk's, weathered and unremarkable, with eyes that seem to carry the weight of 1,000 confessions. You stare, half expecting to see your old self peering back. But she is gone, replaced by this creation of cloth and cunning. Zainab's voice softens, a rare crack in her sharp demeanor as she says, "The world will believe what you show it, but never forget who you are beneath." The words sink deep, a quiet warning that this life will demand pieces of you that may never return. She hands you a small pouch of dyes and powders to practice with later, its weight grounding you like the stone in your pocket, and you tuck it into your robe, feeling the monk's humility slip away as you do. The lesson ends, and you are led through another winding corridor, the air growing cooler as you ascend to a balcony overlooking the valley. The night air is sharp with the scent of pine, and the stars above are brighter than you remember, a map you are beginning to understand from the old woman's lessons in the courtyard. You trace Orion's belt, its familiar shape a small comfort, and the fortress below is quiet, its torches flickering like distant fireflies. You feel a strange calm, as if Alamut is weaving you into its rhythm, its secrets becoming part of your pulse. You think of Khalid, his infuriating grin, and smile at the thought of him tripping over a pilgrim staff or mangling a Frankish accent. Zainab's parting words linger. Tomorrow, you will test your mask in the world. The idea sends a thrill through you, a mix of excitement and dread. What if you are seen for what you truly are, a blade hidden beneath a borrowed face? You lean against the balcony's stone railing, the valley sprawling below, its shadows hiding secrets you are only beginning to grasp. The wind carries the faint howl of a wolf, a sound that feels like both a warning and a call to the wildness within you. You recall a quirky detail Zainab mentioned in passing. Some assassins sewed tiny bells into their disguises, not to jingle, but to test their stealth. If the bells rang, they had failed to move as a shadow should. The thought makes you smile. Imagine training so hard, only to be betrayed by a bell the size of a pea. You run your fingers over the stone in your pocket, its smoothness a reminder of the choices that led you here. And you wonder what the world will see when you step beyond these walls. The night is still, save for the distant hoot of an owl, and you let yourself sink into the moment, the cool stone against your palms, the stars above a silent witness to your transformation. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A soft footstep behind you, too deliberate to be a coincidence. Your hand tightens on the stone, your heart pounding as you turn, expecting Zainab or perhaps Khalid with another jest. But the balcony is empty, the darkness thick and unyielding, and you are left with the echo of that step, a whisper of danger that Alamut seems to breathe. Is this another test, or has the line between practice and reality begun to blur? You stand frozen, the valley's vastness below and the fortress's secrets behind, wondering if you are ready for what comes next. The echo of the footstep on the balcony fades into the night, leaving you gripping the stone in your pocket, its smooth surface a faint comfort as the wind carries the wolf's howl across the valley. You scan the darkness, half expecting Zainab's sharp eyes or Khalid's mischievous grin to emerge. But the silence holds, and you realize Alamut's tests are as much about your mind as your body. You turn back to the railing, the cool stone grounding you, and let the starry expanse above pull your thoughts from the unseen threat. The air smells of pine and distant smoke, a reminder of the world beyond these walls, and you tuck the pouch of dyes into your robe, its weight a promise of the disguises you will soon master. Today, you are to learn the tools of your trade, blades, poisons, and the subtle instruments that make an assassin's work precise and silent. You descend from the balcony, guided by a new figure, a man whose face is half hidden by a hood, his steps so quiet you strain to hear them. The corridor twists deeper into the fortress, the air growing cooler and tinged with the metallic tang of iron and oil. You emerge into an armory, a cavernous chamber lit by torches that cast a warm, flickering glow over racks of weapons and tables laden with strange devices. The walls are lined with curved daggers, their blades etched with intricate patterns, and shelves holding vials, ropes, and small metal tools that gleam like secrets. The man who calls himself Reza speaks in a low, deliberate tone, his voice carrying the same dry humor as your other teachers. A blade is only as good as the hand that wields it, and a fool with a dagger is just a loud corpse. You smirk, but the weight of his words settles over you as he hands you a curved dagger, its hilt wrapped in worn leather, its blade catching the torchlight like a crescent moon. You test its balance, the weight familiar from your training with wooden blades. But this one feels alive, its edge whispering of the lives it might end. The Hashashin were renowned for their use of daggers in public assassinations, a historical fact as seen in the killing of the Seljuk vizier Nizam al-Mulk in 1092. Reza guides you to a table where a straw dummy stands, its surface marked with red paint to indicate vital points. You practice strikes, throat, heart, kidney, each one a lesson in anatomy and intent, the blade's edge singing softly as it cuts through straw. Your arm aches, but the rhythm is hypnotic, each motion a step closer to the precision the order demands. Reza watches, correcting your stance with a nudge or a sharp word, and you wonder if he ever tires of teaching novices not to stab themselves. The lesson shifts to poisons, and Reza produces a wooden box lined with vials, each one labeled with faded script. You recognize some from the scholar's lessons, belladonna, hemlock, but others are new, their contents shimmering in the torchlight like liquid night. Reza explains their uses, one for sleep, one for paralysis, one for a death so slow the victim might write their will before succumbing. He shares a quirky detail, his eyes glinting with amusement. Some assassins carried poison in hollowed-out quills, disguised as writing tools, a trick that let them slip death into a cup of wine during a casual conversation. You imagine the audacity, posing as a scribe while plotting a kill, and the thought makes you chuckle, until Reza hands you a vial and tells you to smell it. The scent is sharp, like crushed almonds with a bitter edge, and he warns, "Breathe too deep, and you will not need a target." You pull back, heart racing, and he laughs, a rare sound in this stone-walled chamber. The armory is a sensory maze, the air heavy with the scents of oil, metal, and something faintly herbal, the torches casting shadows that dance like specters on the walls. Reza shows you other tools, a garrote wire so thin it could hide in a seam, a blowpipe for darts tipped with venom, a set of climbing hooks that fit in the palm of your hand. Each one is a marvel of craftsmanship, designed for silence and efficiency, and you feel a strange admiration for the minds that created them. You practice with the garrote, looping it around a wooden post, and Reza corrects your grip, muttering, "Strangle with grace, not like you are wrestling a goat." You roll your eyes, but the lesson sticks. The wire's tension a reminder of the fine line between success and failure. The day stretches on, and Reza introduces you to traps, small spring-loaded devices that can be hidden in a saddle or a door frame, their mechanisms clicking softly as he demonstrates. You marvel at their intricacy, each one a puzzle of metal and intent, and Reza tells you of an assassin who once rigged a merchant's cart to collapse, delaying a caravan just long enough for a strike. The story feels like a fable, but the tools in your hands are real, their weight grounding you in this strange reality. Historians still wonder if the Hashashin-s reliance on such tools was a sign of their ingenuity or their desperation, given their small numbers against vast armies. Did they outwit their enemies or merely outlast them? You push the question aside as Reza hands you a small metal sphere, no larger than a walnut, its surface etched with tiny holes. He presses a hidden catch and it releases a puff of fine powder. Smoke, he explains, for cover during an escape. You test it, coughing as the acrid cloud stings your eyes, and Reza's laughter echoes, "You will learn to aim better, or you will blind yourself." The lesson continues with lockpicks, thin slivers of metal that feel delicate but strong, and you practice on a rusty lock until your fingers cramp. The click of success is oddly satisfying, like solving a riddle, and you imagine slipping into a guarded chamber unseen, unheard. The armory grows quieter as the torches burn low, their light pooling on the stone floor, and you realize you have been here for hours, your body weary, but your mind sharp with new knowledge. Reza leads you to a corner where a single blade rests on a velvet cloth, its hilt inlaid with a single turquoise stone. It is a ceremonial dagger, he explains, given to those who prove themselves worthy, and you wonder if you will ever hold one for more than a moment. The air is thick now, the scents of metal and oil mingling with the faint sweetness of burning wax, and you feel the weight of the day settling over you like a cloak. Reza's final lesson is about silence, not just of movement, but of intent. "A blade speaks only once," he says, his voice soft but firm, "and you must ensure it is the last word." You nod, the words sinking deep, and he hands you a small leather sheath for the dagger you practiced with, its weight a reminder of the path you are on. As you leave the armory, the corridor feels colder, the torchlight dimmer, and you clutch the stone in your pocket, its warmth a faint echo of the life you once knew. You are led to a small chamber to rest, its straw mat and single blanket familiar now, almost comforting. The fortress is quiet, save for the distant clank of metal and the soft hum of a night bird outside. You think of Khalid, wondering if he struggled with the garrote or laughed at the smoke bomb, and smile at the thought of his inevitable jests. Reza's parting words linger. "Tomorrow you will swear your oath." The idea feels heavy, a step beyond training into something permanent, and you wonder what it will cost you. You lie on the mat, the dagger's sheath beside you, and let the armory's lessons swirl in your mind. The blades, the poisons, the tools that make you more than human, yet less. The night is still, the air cool and scented with cedar, and you drift towards sleep, the stone in your hand a tether to the world you are leaving behind. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A faint creak from the corridor, too deliberate to be the settling of stone. Your eyes snap open, the dagger within reach, and you listen, heart pounding, as the sound grows closer. Is this another test, or has Alamut's true danger found you at last? The creak in the corridor halts, leaving you clutching the dagger's sheath. Its leather cool against your palm as you lie on the straw mat, the cedar-scented air of the small chamber doing little to calm your racing heart. You strain to hear more, but the fortress is silent save for the distant hoot of a nightbird and the faint rustle of wind through the slit of a window. The polished stone in your pocket feels heavier now, a reminder of the choices that led you here. And you wonder if every sound in Alamut is a test or if danger truly stalks these halls. You force yourself to breathe slowly, the rhythm steadying you, and decide to wait. The dagger closed but undrawn as the night stretches on. Dawn arrives with a soft glow, painting the stone walls golden, and a low bell tolls, summoning you to the heart of the fortress. Today you will swear the oath of loyalty to the Order, a moment that feels like a threshold you cannot uncross. You rise, your body stiff from the hard mat, and slip the dagger into your belt, its weight a quiet reassurance. The corridor leads you to a grand chamber, its high ceiling lost in shadows, the air thick with the scent of burning myrrh and polished wood. Torches line the walls, their flames casting a warm, flickering light over a circle of robed figures, their faces half hidden by hoods. At the center stands the teacher with the silver beard, his eyes sharp but calm, and you realize he is more than a mentor. He is a leader, perhaps even the old man of the mountain himself, a title tied to Hassani Saba, the founder whose shadow looms over the Order, a historical fact recorded in chronicles that describe his unyielding vision. You step into the circle, the stone floor cold beneath your sandals, and feel the weight of every gaze like hands pressing against your chest. The teacher's voice is low, resonant, carrying a dry humor that cuts through the solemnity. You stand here thinking you are ready, but readiness is a lie we tell ourselves. You almost smile, but the gravity of the moment holds you still. He gestures to a small altar, where a single candle burns, its flame steady despite the draft, and a curved dagger rests beside it, its blade etched with words you cannot read. The oath, he explains, is not just words. It is a binding of your soul to the Order, a promise to serve its cause above all else. You kneel as instructed, the stone biting into your knees, and the air grows heavier, the myrrh's sweetness mingling with the faint metallic tang of the dagger nearby. The teacher begins the ritual, his voice a steady chant that weaves through the chamber, recounting the Order's mission to strike against tyranny and corruption. You repeat the words, your voice unsteady at first, promising loyalty, secrecy, and the willingness to give your life if needed. The other figures join in, their voices a low hum that vibrates in your chest, and you feel a strange calm, as if the words are weaving you into something larger. A lesser-known detail surfaces in your mind, whispered by a trainee yesterday. The Hashashin oaths were sometimes sealed with a drop of blood, pricked from the finger and pressed into a hidden ledger, a record no outsider ever saw. You glance at the dagger, wondering if that will come next, and the teacher catches your look, his lips twitching. "No blood today," he says, "unless you trip and stab yourself." The jest breaks the tension, and a few of the robed figures chuckle, their faces still shadowed but their humanity flickering through. You relax, just a fraction, and continue the oath, swearing to protect the Order's secrets and to strike only those marked by its will. The candle's flame seems to pulse with your words, and you wonder if it is a trick of the light or something more. Historians still debate whether the Hashashin's loyalty was born of faith, fear, or something else entirely. Did they serve out of devotion, or were they bound by the fortress's isolation and the promise of paradise? The question lingers as you finish the oath, your voice stronger now, echoing in the chamber. The teacher steps forward, placing a hand on your shoulder, his touch firm, but not unkind, and hands you a small silver ring, plain but heavy, its surface etched with a crescent moon. "It is a symbol of your bond," he says, "to be worn only within Alamut's walls, a secret shared among brothers and sisters." You slip it onto your finger, its weight unfamiliar but grounding, and feel a shift within you, as if the person you were is slipping further away. The ceremony ends, and the robed figures disperse, their footsteps soft but deliberate, leaving you alone with the teacher. He leads you to a smaller chamber, its walls lined with tapestries depicting mountains and stars, the air warm with the scent of sandalwood. Here you sit on a woven mat, and he speaks of the Order's history, of battles won not with armies, but with precision, of enemies who fell before they knew they were marked. His voice is a soothing rhythm, pulling you into the past, and you imagine the fortress as it was a century ago, alive with whispers and blades. He tells you of a quirky tradition. After their oath, some assassins carved their initials into a hidden stone in the fortress, a mark to say they were here, though no one knows where that stone lies now. You smile at the thought, picturing yourself searching for it like a child hunting treasure, though you suspect it is another of Alamut's myths. The teacher's eyes soften, and he offers you a cup of mint tea, its steam curling in the air, a small gesture of warmth in this cold world. You sip it, the flavor sharp and refreshing, and feel the exhaustion of the day settle into your bones. The chamber is quiet, save for the soft crackle of a nearby brazier, and you let yourself sink into the moment, the ring on your finger a new weight to carry. The teacher speaks of your next steps. Training will intensify, and soon you will leave Alamut to test your skills in the world. The thought sends a thrill through you, tempered by a flicker of dread. The fortress, for all its dangers, feels safe compared to the chaos beyond. You think of Khalid, wondering if he stood in this same circle, swearing the same words, and smile at the thought of him stumbling through the chant. The teacher notices and raises an eyebrow, muttering, "Focus, or your friend will outlive you by wit alone." As you finish the tea, he leads you to a balcony overlooking the courtyard, where trainees spar in the morning light, their movements a dance of wood and sweat. The teacher's parting words are simple. The oath is your anchor. Let it hold you when the world tries to pull you apart. You nod, the ring glinting on your finger, and watch the valley below, its shadows softening as the sun climbs. The world feels both closer and impossibly far, and you wonder what it will demand of you when you step into it. The day stretches ahead, filled with more training, more lessons, but for now, you stand still, the stone in your pocket. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A shadow moves in the courtyard below. Too swift to be a trainee, too deliberate to be a trick of the light. Your hand instinctively touches the dagger at your belt, its hilt cool and familiar, and you wonder if the oath has already marked you as a target. The teacher is gone, and you are alone with the morning, the shadow's movement a silent question you cannot yet answer. The shadow in the courtyard below fades into the morning light, leaving you gripping the dagger at your belt, its hilt a cool reminder of the oath you just swore. You exhale slowly, the crisp air carrying the scent of pine and distant bread baking, and decide it was likely just a trainee moving swiftly, though Alamut has taught you to question even the ordinary. The ring on your finger feels strange, a new weight tying you to this brotherhood, and you descend from the balcony. Life in the Order is not all blades and shadows. It is anchored in simple routines that ground you, like the shared meals and prayers that weave through the day, a rhythm as steady as the mountain winds. You enter a long hall, its walls lined with woven tapestries depicting ancient battles and serene gardens. Tables of rough-hewn wood stretch before you, where assassins, men and women alike, sit in loose groups, their robes simple and unadorned, their voices a low murmur that blends with the clink of clay bowls. You take your place among them, the bench creaking under your weight, and a fellow trainee, perhaps Khalid with his familiar grin, the Hashashin, known for their austere lifestyle amid their deadly pursuits, a historical fact noted by travelers like Marco Polo, who described their disciplined routines in his accounts, sustained themselves on simple fare, fueling bodies honed for precision rather than indulgence. You tear into the bread, its crust crackling softly, the inside soft and yeasty, and dip it into the stew, savoring the subtle flavors that speak of the fortress's self-sufficiency. Gardens tended in hidden terraces providing herbs and grains. Khalid, if it is him, leans over with a wink, muttering, "Eat well or you will faint during training and blame the ghosts." You smirk, the jest lightening the air, and reply with a nod, because who has not heard tales of recruits dropping from hunger rather than a blade? The meal is communal, no ranks dividing the tables, and conversations flow like the tea poured from a copper pot, its minty steam curling upward. You listen, as an older assassin shares a story of a mission gone awry due to a bad fig, his tone dry and self-deprecating, earning chuckles that echo softly in the hall. The rituals extend beyond eating. After the meal, you join in a brief meditation, sitting cross-legged on the rush mats that line the floor, the faint scent of incense wafting from a brass burner, its smoke tracing lazy patterns in the air. The teacher's voice guides you, a steady hum urging you to breathe deep, to center your thoughts on the order's purpose. Prayers follow, whispered invocations to a higher power, blending Islamic traditions with the order's esoteric beliefs, the words rolling off your tongue in a rhythm that soothes the edges of your mind. A lesser-known detail tickles your thoughts amid the calm. The Hashashin reportedly included moments of poetry recitation in their daily rituals. The group rises, the mats rustling, and you move to the washing basins, cool water from a mountain spring splashing over your hands, its chill grounding you as the soap's herbal scent lingers. Light-hearted banter fills the hall now, Khalid teasing a newcomer about their clumsy disguise from yesterday, saying, "You looked like a camel trying to pass as a horse. Next time add more humps." The laughter is soft, contained, a release valve for the tension that builds with each impending mission. The rituals continue through the day, interspersed with training breaks where you sip water from clay cups, its taste pure and cold, drawn from wells deep in the rock. In the afternoon, you return to the hall for a lighter sustenance, nuts and dried fruit scattered on platters, their crunch satisfying as you sit in a circle, discussing strategies with a subtle sarcasm that keeps spirits high. One assassin quips, "If only our enemies ate as plainly, they would be too weak to lift their crowns." You chuckle, the joke a gentle poke at the opulence of sultans and caliphs, and it reminds you that humor is as essential as any tool in your arsenal. The air in the hall shifts as evening approaches, torches lit along the walls, casting a golden glow that dances on the tapestries, and you partake in the final meal. More bread, perhaps, with a bit of cheese from the goats that graze the slopes, its tangy flavor cutting through the sweetness of honey-drizzled dates. Prayers resume, a meditative close to the day, your body settling into the mat as the incense's smoke swirls, carrying your thoughts upward. Historians still wonder if these rituals were the glue that held the order together. Did they foster unbreakable loyalty, or were they a clever means to control the ranks through shared simplicity? The question lingers as you rise, the group dispersing to cells or duties. Khalid claps you on the shoulder, his grin infectious, and whispers, "Survive the night, oath brother. Tomorrow we plan a strike," and you nod, the words stirring a mix of anticipation and calm, and make your way to your cell, the corridor's cool air brushing your skin. The fortress hums with subdued activity, the scent of bread fading into the night, and you lie on your mat, the ring and stone your silent companions. The rituals have woven you deeper into Alamut's fabric, a life of simple sustenance masking profound purpose. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A faint whisper from the shadows outside your door. Too human to be the wind, too close to ignore. Your hand reaches for the dagger, heart quickening, and you wonder if the oath has invited new perils into your night. The faint whisper outside your door resolves into the soft shuffle of a fellow assassin passing by. Perhaps Khalid with his irrepressible curiosity, delivering a late-night message or simply wandering the halls in thought, and you release your grip on the dagger, the tension easing from your muscles as you settle back onto the straw mat, the cedar-scented air lulling you into a fitful sleep laced with dreams of shared meals and whispered oaths. Dawn arrives with its gentle insistence, the golden light filtering through the window slit to warm the stone floor, and you rise, the ring on your finger catching the glow as a reminder of your new bond, while the aroma of fresh bread from the communal halls drifts in, pulling you toward the day ahead. Today marks a shift. No more general training or rituals alone. You are drawn into the strategic heart of Alamut, where plans for a strike are forged in quiet deliberation, the cool mountain air carrying a hint of anticipation as you follow a summons to the map room. Its entrance hidden behind a tapestry that sways like a secret unveiled. You step inside, the chamber dim and intimate, lit by oil lamps that cast a soft amber hue over tables strewn with parchment maps, their edges curled from use, and shelves holding inkwells, compasses, and small wax models of cities and fortresses. The air is cool and still, scented with aged paper and the faint tang of ink, a soothing contrast to the fortress's outer bustle. And you feel the weight of purpose settle over you like a familiar cloak. A small group gathers, your silver-bearded teacher Zainab with her indigo-stained fingers, and a few others whose faces you recognize from the oath circle. Their voices low and measured as they pore over a large map of the Levant, its lines tracing rivers, roads, and the sprawl of Damascus like veins on a giant's hand. You are invited to sit, the wooden stool creaking softly, and the teacher points to a marked spot, explaining that the target is a corrupt vizier whose greed has drawn the Order's ire, his routines predictable yet guarded. The Hashashin were masters of targeted assassinations that reshaped politics, such as the killing of the Mongol leader in 1256, a historical fact that weakened the invading forces and preserved their strongholds for years. You lean in, tracing the routes with your finger, feeling the parchment's texture rough under your touch, and visualize the journey. Dusty caravan paths winding through valleys, bustling markets where disguises will blend you into the crowd, and hidden vantage points for observation. Zainab adds details on timing, her voice dry with sarcasm. Strike at dawn when he prays or wait for his afternoon nap. Nothing says precision like catching a tyrant mid-snore. You chuckle quietly, the jest easing the room's intensity, and nod as she sketches alternative paths, accounting for patrols and weather, the ink drying quickly in the cool air. The planning is meticulous, almost meditative, each line on the map a thread in a larger web. And you suggest a detour through a merchant quarter, drawing on your disguise lessons, which earns an approving glance from the teacher. He shares a quirky detail, his eyes twinkling. Some planners used scented inks derived from rare flowers to mark maps not for beauty, but because the faint aroma helped memorize routes in the dark, a trick as odd as it is ingenious. You inhale the ink's subtle bitterness, wondering if you detect a hint of rose, and practice committing the map to memory, closing your eyes to recall the twists and turns, the night air outside the chamber window whispering encouragement. The group debates contingencies. What if the vizier changes his guard rotation, or a sandstorm delays your approach, and you feel the calm focus of the process, the cool breeze from the open slit, carrying the distant bleat of goats, grounding you in this strategic dance. Historians still ponder if the Hashashin's success stemmed from superior intelligence networks or sheer audacity. Did their plans anticipate every variable, or did fate favor the bold? The question hangs as you adjust a wax model, positioning tiny figures to simulate infiltration, their clay forms cold and unyielding. Reza joins briefly, offering insights on tools, a poisoned ring for close encounters or a silenced bow for distance, his tone light as he quips. Choose wisely or you will end up as the target's new decoration. The laughter is subdued, a brief interruption in the planning's rhythm, and you select a curved dagger for its familiarity, tucking it into your belt with care. Hours pass in the map room, the lamps burning steadily, their flames reflecting in the polished compass needles, and you break for mint tea, its steam curling like map contours, the herbal warmth soothing your throat as discussions continue. You visualize the target's routines, morning audiences in his palace hall, midday meals with sycophants, evening walks in guarded gardens, each detail a puzzle piece slotted into place with almost artistic precision. The cool night air seeps in as dusk falls, carrying the scent of jasmine from the fortress gardens, and you stand by the window, gazing at the stars emerging like distant allies, recalling the navigation lessons that will guide you under their watch. The teacher finalizes the plan, rolling the map with deliberate care, and assigns roles. You, as the infiltrator, Khalid as backup with his quick wit. Zainab handling diversions if needed. The chamber feels alive with quiet energy, the parchments rustling softly, and you feel a strange peace in the plotting, as if shaping fate with ink and words is a form of creation rather than destruction. Khalid slips in late, his grin flashing as he reviews the map, muttering, "Looks foolproof, unless the vizier decides to hide in a haystack." You roll your eyes, the joke a welcome levity, and he claps your shoulder, solidifying the bond forged in rituals and oaths. The session winds down, lamps dimmed to conserve oil, and you step out into the corridor, the cool stone underfoot a contrast to the room's warmth, carrying a small scroll of notes tucked into your robe. The fortress hums with evening prayers, their chants a distant melody, and you reflect on the day's work, the meticulous details blending into a soothing tapestry of preparation. Tomorrow, the journey begins, but for now, you return to your cell, the night air brushing your face with promises of the road ahead. The planning has sharpened your mind, each visualized step a gentle rehearsal in the quiet of your thoughts. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A rolled parchment slips from a shadow in the corridor, landing at your feet with a soft thud, its seal unbroken but unfamiliar. Your hand hovers over the dagger, heart stirring, and you wonder if this is a final test or a harbinger of the mission's first twist. The rolled parchment at your feet lies still in the corridor's dim light, its seal a simple wax blob without emblem, and you bend to pick it up, heart steadying as you realize it might be a final detail for the mission or another of Alamuti's cryptic tests, the cool air brushing your skin like a whisper of caution, before you tuck it into your robe alongside the scroll of notes, deciding to examine it in the morning's clearer light. Dawn breaks with a soft glow over the mountains, the fortress stirring to life with the distant clang of a bell and the faint scent of dew on stone, and you prepare for the journey to the target, slipping into your merchant disguise, a saffron robe that smells faintly of turmeric, your face aged with subtle clay lines, the pouch of dyes a hidden ally in your pack. You meet Khalid at the gates, his pilgrim staff leaning casually as he grins, muttering, "Ready to wander? Or shall we pretend to be lost tourists?" You roll your eyes at the jest, but it eases the knot in your chest as the massive wooden slabs creak open, revealing the narrow path winding down the Alborz peaks, gravel crunching under your sandals with each step, pulling you from Alamut's sanctuary into the world's deceptive embrace. The air grows warmer as you descend, carrying the tangy pine scent mixed with earth after a light rain, the valley below unfolding like a tapestry of greens and browns, dotted with distant villages where cook fires send thin smoke curls skyward. You travel incognito, your strides measured to match a weary trader's gait, Khalid's pilgrim robes billowing slightly in the breeze as he hums a faint tune, the landscape's peace a gentle veil over the mission's edge. The Hashashin often journeyed in such guises during the Crusades, blending into caravans to reach targets like the assassination of Marquis Conrad of Montferrat in 1192, a historical fact that shifted alliances in the Holy Land with a single unseen blade. You pause at a stream's edge, the water gurgling softly over smooth stones, its cool splash refreshing as you fill your water skin, the liquid clear and tasting of minerals from the mountains above, a simple act that grounds you amid the building anticipation. Khalid splashes his face, chuckling. If only our vizier knew his doom approaches with wet sandals. Talk about a soggy end. The joke draws a quiet laugh, lightening the path as you continue, the sun climbing to warm your back, birdsong weaving through the air like threads of normalcy. The road widens into a dusty trail, flanked by olive groves, their leaves rustling in the wind with a silvery shimmer, and you absorb the scents. Ripe fruit mingling with wild herbs, thyme and rosemary crushed underfoot, releasing bursts of fragrance that calm your senses. Merchants pass occasionally, their camels laden with bundles that clank softly, voices haggling in Arabic that you mimic flawlessly from Zainab's drills, exchanging nods without drawing eyes. The deceptive peace of the landscape unfolds, rolling hills blanketed in wildflowers, their petals a riot of yellows and purples nodding in the breeze, belying the dangers of bandits or patrols that could unravel your cover. You share dried dates from your pack, their sweetness sticky on your fingers, and Khalid points to a distant ruin, An old caravanserai with crumbling walls overgrown by vines, whispering tales of travelers who vanished there, perhaps victims of the Order's past strikes. A lesser-known detail that some Hashashin left subtle marks on such sites, carved symbols warning brethren of hidden paths or traps. You wonder if you will spot one, the thought adding a playful hunt to the journey. Though the sun's heat now beads sweat on your brow, the robe's fabric clinging slightly as you press on. The path leads to a bustling market at a crossroads, tents flapping in the wind like colorful sails, the air thick with spices, cinnamon, saffron, and pepper that make your nose tingle. Merchants calling out wares in a symphony of voices, the sounds blending with the bleat of goats and the jingle of coins. You weave through the crowd, your merchant guise perfect as you pretend to browse silks and pottery, absorbing the chaos that hides you so well. The ground underfoot a mix of sand and scattered husks crunching softly. Khalid lingers at a stall, fingering prayer beads with feigned devotion, his eyes scanning for any watchful guards, and you mutter under your breath, "If we get caught here, blame your holy act. You look like a pilgrim who prays for discounts." He smirks, the sarcasm a cozy thread connecting you amid the throng, and you purchase a small vial of oil, its scent floral and soothing, tucking it away as a potential tool or mere prop. The market's energy is immersive, children darting between legs with laughter that echoes innocently. Women in veils bargaining fiercely, the sun filtering through awnings to cast dappled patterns on the ground. A calming mosaic that belies your purpose. As afternoon wanes, you leave the market behind, the road narrowing into a canyon where red rock walls rise like silent guardians, the air cooler in their shadow, with a faint echo of your footsteps bouncing softly. Wild goats clamber on ledges above, their bleats a quirky accompaniment, and you recall a tale from training. Some assassins trained goats to carry messages, tying scrolls to their collars for discreet delivery, a lesser-known method that sounds more like herding cats than espionage. The image amuses you, easing the tension as the canyon opens to plains dotted with date palms, their fronds swaying gently in the evening breeze, the sky shifting to hues of orange and pink that paint the horizon in serene strokes. You camp under the stars, a small fire crackling with dry twigs, its warmth warding off the night's chill as you share bread and cheese, the flavors simple but nourishing Khalid's stories of past journeys, lulling you with their rhythmic cadence. The constellations wheel above, Orion's belt a familiar guide from your lessons, their permanence a gentle reminder that the world turns regardless of your blade's path. Historians still debate if the Hashashin's travels were fueled by fanaticism or strategic necessity. Did their deceptive peace mask inner turmoil, or was it the calm before inevitable storms? The question drifts as you bank the fire, embers glowing softly, and wrap in your cloak, the ground firm, but yielding under a thin mat, the night's hush broken only by crickets' chirp. Days blend in the journey's gentle pacing, mornings with dew-kissed grass underfoot, afternoons navigating villages where laughter spills from doorways, evenings under vast skies that invite reflection. You absorb the sense of blooming jasmine along paths, the sounds of distant calls to prayer that blend with bird calls, building anticipation like a slow-building wave. The landscape's beauty, a cozy illusion wrapping your lethal intent. Khalid's light jokes pepper the miles. If the vizier spots us, we can always sell him our disguises as fashion advice, keeping the mood immersive yet calm, your senses attuned to every shift in wind or shadow. As Damascus's spires appear on the horizon, minarets piercing the twilight like needles, the air carries urban hints, smoke from forges, the murmur of crowds, the deceptive peace fracturing slightly with the mission's nearness. You adjust your robe, the clay on your face cracking faintly from the day's heat, and feel the dagger's hidden weight, a quiet promise. The city gates loom, guards eyeing passers-by with lazy scrutiny, and you slip through as merchants do, the cobbled streets welcoming with lantern light flickering like stars fallen to earth. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A figure in the crowd mirrors your steps too closely, their hood casting a shadow that feels deliberate, your hand brushing the dagger as anticipation sharpens into alert. Is this a coincidence? Or has the vizier's web already snared you before the strike? The figure mirroring your steps in the Damascus crowd melts away into the throng of merchants and pilgrims, leaving you with a heightened pulse and a hand lingering near your hidden dagger. But you press on through the cobbled streets, the city's bustle enveloping you like a protective shroud, as lanterns flicker to life in the twilight, their warm glow casting dancing shadows that blend with the aromas of roasting lamb and spiced bread wafting from nearby stalls. You navigate the labyrinthine alleys with Khalid at your side, his pilgrim staff tapping rhythmically against the stone. The minaret's calls to prayer echoing overhead like a serene soundtrack to your infiltration, pulling you deeper into the heart of the city, where the vizier's palace looms as a grand silhouette against the fading sky, its walls adorned with intricate tilework that gleams faintly under the emerging stars. You find a vantage point in the shadows of a mosque's outer courtyard, the cool marble underfoot, a soothing contrast to the day's lingering heat, and settle into observation, your merchant guise allowing you to blend with the evening worshippers who mill about with murmured conversations and the soft rustle of robes. The air thick with the scent of incense, burning from brass holders that send thin smoke trails curling upward like whispered secrets. The vizier emerges for his routine evening stroll in the palace gardens, visible through ornate gates, his portly frame draped in silk that shimmers with each step, surrounded by guards whose spears catch the lantern light, their movements predictable as a well-rehearsed dance. Two ahead, two behind, one at each flank circling the paths with mechanical precision. You watch from your shadowed perch, the mosque's arches framing the scene like a living painting, noting how he pauses at the same fountain each time to splash water on his face, the droplets sparkling briefly before he continues his laughter, booming at some jest from a sycophant, the sound carrying over the wall on the gentle breeze that stirs the palm fronds overhead. The Hashashin often relied on such patient observation to ensure flawless strikes, as in the case of the assassination of the Seljuk Sultan Malik Shah in 1092, a historical fact where weeks of watching his habits led to a single decisive moment that altered the region's power dynamics. You adjust your position slightly, the clay on your face cracking faintly but holding, and Khalid whispers from beside you, his voice laced with sarcasm. Our mark moves like a peacock in mating season. Predictable, but at least he provides entertainment. You suppress a chuckle, the whimsy of comparing a tyrant to a strutting bird lightening the vigil, and continue to map his patterns. The way he lingers longer near the rose bushes, inhaling their floral scent with exaggerated delight, or how his guards relax their grip on spears during these pauses, a vulnerability like a thread waiting to be pulled. The night deepens, stars pricking the velvet sky above the mosque's dome, and you feel the city's pulse slow. The distant hum of market vendors packing up blending with the soft coo of doves nesting in the eaves, their feathers rustling like pages in a forgotten book. A lesser-known detail emerges in your thoughts shared by Zainab during training. Some assassins use trained birds to carry tiny messages back to Alamut during long observations, a quirky method where a pigeon's homing instinct delivered updates faster than any rider, though risky, if the bird decided to detour for a snack. You imagine tying a note to a dove's leg now, the idea almost playful amid the tension, and scan the gardens again, noting the vizier's habit of dismissing one guard early to indulge in a private smoke from a hookah hidden behind a trellis, the sweet tobacco scent drifting faintly on the wind. A quirky predictability in humans who believe themselves untouchable. The observation unfolds like a slow, immersive dream, the cool night air brushing your skin with hints of jasmine from nearby blooms. The mosque stone retaining the day's warmth under your palms as you lean against a pillar, eyes fixed on the palace, where lanterns illuminate the vizier's path like guiding stars for your intent. Khalid shifts beside you, his staff propped casually, and mutters another jest. If he checks his reflection in that fountain one more time, we could just wait for him to drown in his own vanity. The dry humor coils around you cozily, a calming thread in the web of waiting, and you nod, mentally noting the timing, precisely 15 minutes at the fountain, then a turn toward the eastern gate where shadows pool deepest, an ideal spot for a strike if the guard's rotation aligns as observed. Historians still wonder if the Hashashin's success in such infiltrations stemmed from superhuman patience or an innate understanding of human frailty? Did they exploit predictability because people are creatures of habit? Or was it a philosophical insight into the illusion of security? The debate lingers in your mind as the vizier retires for the night, his silhouette vanishing into the palace's lit interior, guards posting at entrances with yawns that betray their boredom, the city's sounds fading to a gentle murmur of night watch calls and distant lute strings plucking a melancholic tune. You and Khalid slip away from the mosque, weaving through quieter alleys where moonlight filters through lattice windows, casting intricate patterns on the ground like a secret code, the air cooler now with a hint of dew promising dawn's approach. You find a hidden nook in a derelict building, its walls crumbling but sheltering, and review notes by a shielded candle, its flame flickering softly without betraying your position, the wax's faint honey scent mingling with the musty stone. The observation continues over days, each one a blend of sensory immersion, mornings watching the vizier receive petitioners in the palace hall, visible from a rooftop perch, the sun warming your back as voices carry snippets of corruption, bribes exchanged with sly smiles, the clink of coins a rhythmic underscore. Afternoons lurking near the market where he inspects goods, the spice-laden air thick and inviting vendors' calls, a cacophony that masks your presence as you note his preference for a particular tea stall, sipping slowly while guards scan the crowd half-heartedly. The patterns emerge like a dance you are learning to interrupt his habits, unfolding predictably, yet with quirky flourishes. A sudden stop to pet a stray cat that winds around his legs, purring loudly enough to draw a guard's distracted glance, or his ritual of tossing crumbs to birds in the garden, their wings fluttering in a feathered frenzy that could serve as a diversion. You jest softly to Khalid during one such watch. Our vizier fancies himself a bird whisperer. Perhaps we should send him a pigeon with a special message. The sarcasm draws a muffled laugh, the whimsy adding a touch of lightness to the stakeout's calm intensity. And you feel the city's rhythm syncing with your own, the cool shadows providing respite from the midday heat. The distant adhan calls a soothing punctuation to your vigil. Nights bring deeper immersion, the palace gardens alive with fireflies that wink like tiny spies, the air scented with night-blooming flowers whose petals unfurl under the moon. And you observe from varying spots, a tree's branch offering a bird's-eye view, leaves whispering against your robe, or a concealed alcove where the stone's chill seeps through but sharpens your focus. The vizier's evenings reveal more, a preference for solitude after dismissing attendance, pacing paths with a thoughtful frown, occasionally muttering to himself in tones that carry faintly, revealing worries about rivals that align with the Order's intelligence. The predictability of humans becomes a quirky observation, how even a powerful man repeats gestures, a hand through his beard at the same bend in the path, a pause to gaze at the stars as if seeking counsel from Orion's belt, which you trace yourself for navigation's sake. The stakeout is a gentle, immersive journey each day, layering details like brushstrokes on a canvas, the sensory tapestry rich, the taste of stolen figs from a vendor's cart sweet and juicy to sustain you, the feel of rough walls against your back during waits, the sounds of city life weaving a calming backdrop. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A guard's gaze lingers too long on your shadowed position during the vizier's garden walk, his spear shifting as if alerted, your heart quickening amid the jasmine-scented air. Is this mere chance, or has your observation been observed in turn, turning the hunter into the hunted? The guard's gaze lingers on your shadowed position, just long enough to send a chill through you amid the jasmine-scented air. But then, he shifts his spear and turns away, perhaps dismissing it as a trick of the lantern light or the flutter of a night bird, allowing you to melt deeper into the alcove's embrace. Your heart steadying as the vizier's garden walk continues uninterrupted, the soft pad of his slippers on the path, a rhythmic reminder that the moment draws near. You wait through another cycle of his habits, the moon climbing higher to cast a silvery glow over the palace walls, the fireflies winking like conspirators in the bushes, and when the guard's rotation aligns with your observations, the flankman stepping aside for a brief relief, the others distracted by a distant call. The window opens a fleeting gap in their vigilance that you have anticipated like a breath held too long. You signal Khalid with a subtle hand gesture, his pilgrim form nodding from across the way, and slip from the shadows, your merchant robe blending with the night's muted tones, the clay on your face a mask that hides the adrenaline surging beneath, though the narrator's voice in your mind quips dryly that history remembers assassins for their strikes, not their sweaty palms. The garden wall is rough under your fingers, the climbing hooks from razor's lessons biting into the stone, with quiet clicks that blend with the cricket's chirp, and you scale it fluidly, dropping into the soft earth on the other side, where the scent of roses overwhelms. Their petals velvet soft underfoot as you crouch low, the vizier's laughter booming ahead like an unwitting invitation. You move like a shadow detached from its owner, each step deliberate and silent, the training from Alamut guiding your body through the manicured paths lined with hedges that rustle faintly in the breeze. The air cool and heavy with dew that beads on leaves like tiny jewels reflecting the lantern light. The vizier pauses at his favorite fountain, as expected, splashing water on his face with a contented sigh, his guards at a respectful distance, and you close in, the dagger's hilt warm in your palm from your grip, its curved blade a promise forged in the armory's fire. The rush of adrenaline tempers into focus your breath, even as you visualize the strike, a precise thrust between the ribs, swift and silent, the kind that ends before pain registers. And you feel the world's rhythm slow the stars above, witnessing without judgment the distant lute from the palace interior, a haunting melody that underscores the instant. The Hashashin were infamous for such public executions, like the assassination of Nizam al-Mulk in 1092, a well-known historical fact where a disguised fedai struck in broad daylight amid a crowd sending shockwaves through the Seljuk Empire and cementing the order's terror as a political tool. You are mere steps away now, the vizier's silk robe shimmering as he turns slightly oblivious, and you lunge with the grace of endless drills, the blade slipping clean the only sound, a soft gasp that blends with the fountain's burble, his body slumping against the stone rim as if in prayer. The guards are slow to react, their spears clattering as they whirl, but you are already retreating, the adrenaline, a calm fire propelling you through the shadows, Khalid's diversion. A thrown stone clattering in the opposite direction, drawing their shouts and footsteps away. You vault the wall again, the hooks retracting with a whisper, and land in the alley beyond, heart pounding but mind clear, the blood on your blade a fleeting warmth quickly wiped on your robe's hem. The city night enfolds you, the minaret silhouettes against the sky a guide, as you weave through back streets, the sense of cooling bread from bakeries and the faint tang of incense from homes mingling in a sensory haze that grounds you, the narrator musing sarcastically that if assassinations were an art, yours would merit a frame, though historians might quibble over the details. You rendezvous with Khalid at a predetermined spot, a quiet courtyard where a fountain mirrors the one you just left, its water trickling soothingly as he emerges from the gloom staff in hand, his grin faint but approving. Smooth as a poet's verse, though next time, let us add a flourish for the bards. You nod the light joke, easing the post-strike tremor in your hands, and you discard the merchant guise in a hidden bundle, adopting simpler traveler robes that smell of clean wool, the clay washed away with water from a nearby trough, its chill refreshing against your skin. The moment lingers in your thoughts, that fleeting instant where life and death intersected, history remembering such acts as pivotal, yet glossing over the human pulse behind them, the sweat, the doubt, the calm resolve. A quirky detail surfaces from your training. Some Fedai carried a single rose petal from Alamut's gardens in their pocket, during strikes a lesser-known talisman for luck, or a reminder of paradise promised. Its delicate fragrance a final sensory anchor before the blade fell. Though yours was the polished stone, its smoothness now a tactile memory of home. You and Khalid slip through the city's veins, the streets quieter now, with only the occasional patrol's lantern bobbing like a will-o'-the-wisp. The air cooler as midnight deepens, carrying the distant howl of a dog that echoes your inner rush, tempered by the night's embrace. The execution was precise, silent, a culmination of plans and observations that feels almost dreamlike in retrospect. The vizier's fall a ripple set to spread through courts and whispers, reshaping alliances in ways you may never see. Historians still debate if such strikes were acts of justice or mere vengeance cloaked in ideology. Did the Hashashin shape history for a greater good, or were they pawns in a larger game of power? The question fades as you navigate the outskirts, the city's lights dimming behind you, the path ahead leading to escape routes mapped in the fortress's chambers, the stars above a constant map guiding your steps. Khalid's presence is a cozy reassurance, his occasional dry quip. If guards were brighter, we would need better jokes to distract them, weaving humor into the tension, the journey back beginning with the same deceptive peace that masked your approach. The landscape's serenity a calming veil over the deed done. You pause at a stream's edge to wash away any traces, the water cold and invigorating against your skin, its gentle flow carrying away the night's weight like a benediction. The moon's reflection rippling as if nodding approval. The adrenaline ebbs into a quiet satisfaction, the striker memory etched in your soul, fleeting yet eternal in its impact. The world unchanged yet forever altered in subtle ways. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A rustle in the nearby bushes, too deliberate for a nocturnal creature. Your dagger drawn instinctively, as a figure emerges from the shadows, cloaked and hooded, their voice, a low whisper that freezes you in place. Is this an ally with urgent news, or has the vizier's fall already summoned pursuers faster than anticipated? The hooded figure steps closer, their whisper cutting through the stream's gentle gurgle, and you tighten your grip on the dagger, its hilt slick with the water you just splashed across your hands. The cool night air heavy with the scent of damp earth and distant olive groves, as your heart thuds with the uncertainty of whether this is friend or foe. Khalid tenses beside you, his pilgrim's staff angled like a weapon, but the figure raises a hand, palm open, and murmurs a phrase from the oath you swore in Alamut's candle-lit chamber. Their voice soft but familiar, revealing them as a courier from the Order, sent to guide you through the escape. You exhale, the tension unwinding like a thread pulled loose, and follow as they lead you through the underbrush, the moonlight filtering through tangled branches to cast dappled patterns on the ground, the faint rustle of leaves underfoot, blending with the distant hum of Damascus fading behind you. The courier, cloaked in dark wool that smells faintly of charcoal, moves with a silence you aspire to, their steps a lesson in themselves as you navigate a hidden trail, the air growing cooler with the scent of pine as the path climbs toward the hills, the city's lanterns now mere pinpricks in the valley below. Your escape is a dance through chaos, the world unaware of the vizier's fall, but poised to erupt once the body is found, and you feel the weight of your actions settling like dust, the polished stone in your pocket a grounding anchor as you slip through the night. The Hashashin were masters of evasion, their escapes as legendary as their strikes. Like the Fedai who vanished after killing the Crusader leader Raymond II of Tripoli in 1152, a historical fact that left chroniclers baffled by their ability to melt into crowds and landscapes without a trace. You follow the courier's lead, weaving through rocky outcrops where wild thyme crushes underfoot, releasing a sharp, herbal scent that mingles with the cool breeze, soothing your senses despite the urgency. Khalid, trailing close, mutters under his breath, "If we get caught now, I'm blaming your loud breathing. Sound like a camel in love." The dry jest draws a quiet smirk, the humor a cozy tether in the flight, and you retort softly that his staff makes more noise than a drunken bard. The banter a fleeting comfort as you press on. The trail dips into a narrow ravine, the walls rising like silent sentinels, their shadows cloaking you as the courier signals a pause, pointing to a faint glow on the horizon. A patrol's torch, perhaps, or a village waking early. You crouch low, the earth cool and gritty against your palms, and listen to the night sounds. Crickets chirping in rhythmic pulses, a distant owl's hoot, the soft clink of pebbles dislodged by your movement. The courier shares a lesser-known detail, their voice a whisper, barely audible over the breeze. Some Hashashin carried small mirrors to flash signals across valleys, a quirky method to coordinate escapes without words. The reflected moonlight, a silent code that could outwit pursuers. Can you imagine holding such a mirror now? Its surface catching the stars above, and check your pack. The pouch of dyes and the dagger's sheath reassuringly present, though you hope the mirror's trick won't be needed tonight. The patrol's light fades, and you move again. The trail winding upward through a grove of date palms, their fronds whispering secrets as you pass. The air sweet with the faint scent of ripe fruit that tempts you to pause, though the courier's pace allows no such luxury. The escape is a study in controlled haste, each step calculated to avoid detection, your merchant guise shed, but the instincts of disguise guiding your movements, head low, steps light, blending with the shadows as Zainab taught. You recall the map room's meticulous plans, the routes marked in scented ink, and follow the courier's path with trust, the stars above, Orion's belt a familiar guide. Anchoring your navigation as the terrain shifts to open plains, the grass soft underfoot, but treacherous with hidden roots. The night stretches hours, blending into a dreamlike flow of movement, the cool air keeping you alert as you skirt a sleeping village. Its mud brick houses dark, save for a single lamp flickering in a window, casting a warm glow that feels like a distant memory of safety. Their sweetness a brief sustenance as you whisper about the strike. The viziers fall, replaying in your mind like a scene etched in torchlight. The adrenaline has faded into a calm focus. The escape, a meditative rhythm of steps and breaths. The landscape's serenity, a deceptive veil over the chaos you've left behind. Historians still wonder if the Hashashin's escapes were planned with the same precision as their strikes, or if luck played a larger role than the Order admitted. Did they outrun fate, or did fate simply turn a blind eye? The question lingers as you climb a low ridge, the courier pausing to scan the horizon, their silhouette sharp against the starlit sky, and you catch your breath. The air crisp with a hint of dew that promises dawn's approach. The trail leads to a concealed cave, its entrance hidden by tangled vines that part like a curtain. The interior cool and damp with the scent of moss and stone. A temporary sanctuary where you rest, the courier producing a small fire with flint and tinder, its crackle a soft lullaby as you sit on the rough floor, shadows dancing on the walls like echoes of Alamut's halls. You unroll the mysterious parchment from the corridor, its wax seal now cracked, revealing a simple note. Coordinates for a safe house written in the Order's cipher. A relief that it's guidance rather than betrayal, though the narrator's voice quips that in Alamut's world, even safe houses might come with surprises. The fire's warmth soothes your aching legs, and you sip from your water skin, the mineral taste a reminder of the mountains left behind, while Khalid leans against the cave wall joking, "If this is our reward, I'd settle for a softer rock next time." The laughter is soft, a shared moment that binds you closer. The cave's quiet, amplifying the camaraderie forged in shared danger. The courier speaks sparingly, outlining the next leg of the escape. A caravan route at dawn, where you'll blend as traders, the stars guiding you until then, and you nod the plan familiar from the map room's endless debates, the ink's rose scent still vivid in your memory. The cave's stillness wraps you like a blanket. The fire's glow a cozy contrast to the night's vastness outside, and you feel the weight of the strike settling. The vizier's fall a distant echo now, though its ripples will soon reach courts and markets. The escape is nearly complete, the trail ahead promising safety. But the Order's lessons linger. Trust no moment fully, for shadows move when least expected. You rest your head against the cave wall, the stone cool but grounding, and let the fire's crackle lull you, the stars visible through the vine-covered entrance, a map of possibilities. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A faint clatter of hooves on the ridge above, too rhythmic for wild beasts, too close for comfort. Your hand instinctively reaching for the dagger, as the courier's eyes narrow, signaling silence. Is this a patrol drawn by whispers of the vizier's fate, or merely travelers crossing the night? Has your escape been flawless, or is chaos catching up? The clatter of hooves on the ridge above fades into the night, swallowed by the wind's soft howl through the cave's vine-draped entrance, leaving you clutching your dagger as the courier's narrowed eyes relax, a silent signal that the danger, if it was danger, has passed. Though Alamut's lessons keep your senses sharp, the cool cave air tinged with moss and smoke, grounding you as you ease back against the stone wall, its chill seeping through your robes like a reminder to stay vigilant. The fire's gentle crackle resumes its lullaby, casting flickering shadows that dance across the cave's rough ceiling, and you tuck the ciphered parchment deeper into your pack, its coordinates a lifeline to the safe house that awaits. The polished stone in your pocket, a familiar anchor as you prepare to return to Alamuti's sanctuary. Dawn is still hours away, the stars beyond the vines bright as ever, Orion's belt winking like a guide you've come to trust, and the courier whispers for you and Khalid to rest briefly before moving on, their voice a soothing thread in the night's tapestry. You nod, sharing a glance with Khalid, whose pilgrim guise is now rumpled but whose grin remains, muttering, "If those were pursuers, they're chasing ghosts. Let's hope they enjoy the exercise." The dry jest coaxes a quiet smile, a cozy flicker of camaraderie that warms the cave's damp chill, and you settle onto the hard floor, the mat from your pack, offering little comfort, but enough to ease your aching limbs. The journey back unfolds with the same deceptive peace that cloaked your approach to Damascus, the landscape a serene veil over the chaos left behind. And as you rise with the first grey light of pre-dawn, the air crisp with dew and pine, you step out of the cave, the vines brushing your shoulders like a farewell from the wild. The trail winds through rolling hills, the grass soft underfoot and glistening with morning mist, the scent of wild thyme crushed by your steps, mingling with the distant tang of wood smoke from a shepherd fire, a sensory reminder of the world's quiet persistence, despite the vizier's fall. The Hashashin's return journeys were as critical as their strikes, their survival ensuring the Order's legend, as seen in the aftermath of the 1256 assassination of the Mongol leader. A historical fact that left enemies scrambling while the Fedai vanished into Persia's mountains, their paths untraceable. You move swiftly but silently, your traveler's robes blending with the dawn's muted tones, Khalid's staff tapping lightly as he matches your pace, the rhythm of your steps a meditative cadence that soothes the lingering adrenaline of the strike. The hills give way to a dusty road, flanked by olive groves, their silvery leaves rustling in the breeze, and you pass a caravan of traders, their camels grumbling softly as they haul bundles of wool and spices, the air rich with the scent of cardamom, and leather a bustling normalcy that masks your purpose. You nod to a merchant, your Arabic flawless from Zainab's drills, and he returns the gesture unsuspecting as you slip through the crowd, the road's grit crunching under your sandals like a subtle applause for your escape. Khalid leans close, whispering, "If we keep this up, we could start a trading empire. Just don't offer them poisoned tea." The sarcasm draws a muffled laugh, the humor a gentle anchor in the journey's flow, and you share a handful of dried dates from your pack, their sticky sweetness a small sustenance as the sun climbs, warming your back through the robe's thin weave. The path narrows into a rocky pass, the cliffs rising like silent guardians, their shadows cool and welcoming, the faint echo of your footsteps bouncing off the stone like a conversation with the mountains themselves. A lesser-known detail drifts into your thoughts, shared by Razor in the armory. Some returning assassins left small offerings, stones stacked in hidden patterns, at trail markers, a quirky tradition to thank the land for safe passage, though no one knows if it was superstition or gratitude. You pause to stack 3 pebbles by a twisted juniper, their smooth surfaces cool against your fingers, and feel a quiet connection to those who walked this path before, their shadows lingering in the Order's lore. The courier leads on, their cloak blending with the rock's hues, and you follow. The trail climbing steadily toward Alamut's peaks, the air thinning but fresh with the scent of highland herbs, sage and lavender brushing your senses like a soft caress. Villages pass in the distance, their mud brick homes glowing in the morning light. Children's laughter carrying faintly as they chase goats. A scene so ordinary it feels like a dream after the strike's intensity. You adjust your pack, the dagger's sheath a reassuring weight, and recall the map room's plans, the scented ink tracing this very route, now unfolding beneath your feet with a precision that feels almost poetic. The day stretches, the sun arcing overhead, its heat tempered by breezes that carry the distant bleat of mountain sheep. And you pause at a spring to refill your water skin, the water cold and mineral sharp. Its splash against your face washing away the last traces of Damascus's dust. Khalid splashes you playfully, grinning, clean enough to pass for a scholar now, not just a killer. You retort that his pilgrim act needs more prayer and less chatter, the banter a cozy thread weaving through the journey, keeping the weight of the mission at bay. The trail grows steeper, the fortress's silhouette emerging against the horizon. Its stone walls a beacon of safety that pulls you forward, the air now thick with pine and the faint smoke of Alamut's hearths. Historians still debate whether the Hashashin-S returns were as celebrated as their strikes. Did they slip back quietly to avoid notice, or were they welcomed as heroes within the fortress's walls? The question lingers as you near the gates, the massive wooden slabs carved with geometric patterns that seem to shift in the evening light, a familiar sight that feels like home, though the word sits strangely in your mind. The courier signals the guards, a coded whistle that blends with the wind, and the gates creak open, revealing the courtyard bathed in torchlight, the scent of burning oil and fresh bread welcoming you back. You step inside, the stone underfoot warm from the day's sun, and feel the fortress's rhythm envelop you, its hum of activity, trainers drilling, scribes murmuring over scrolls, a soothing contrast to the road's solitude. Khalid claps your shoulder, his grin wide. We made it unless the cooks poisoned the stew tonight. The jest lands softly, the camaraderie a balm as you shed the traveler's robes for simpler garb, the ring on your finger catching the torchlight like a silent vow. You head to your cell, the straw mat waiting, its simplicity a comfort after the journey's trials, and sit to unroll the ciphered parchment again, its coordinates now a memory of a path completed. The fortress settles into night, the distant chant of prayers, a lullaby that pulls you toward rest the strike, and escape a fading dream, though the vizier's fall echoes in your thoughts a ripple set to spread beyond your sight. But just when everything seemed safe, something changes. A soft knock at your cell door, deliberate and unhurried, breaking the night's calm. Your hand finds the dagger, heart stirring as you rise, wondering if this is a summons to debrief or a sign that the mission's consequences have followed you home. The soft knock at your cell door echoes once more before fading into the fortress' night hush, and you rise, dagger in hand, its hilt a familiar weight that grounds you amid the cedar-scented air, only to find the silver-bearded teacher waiting outside, his eyes glinting with a quiet approval as he gestures for you to follow without a word, leading you through the dimly lit corridors where torchlight flickers like hesitant stars on the stone walls, the distant chants of prayers winding down into silence. You arrive at the tranquil gardens of Alamut, the same ones where you once wandered under starlight during your early days, now bathed in the moon's soft glow. The air sweet with the perfume of night-blooming jasmine and roses that brush against your robes as you walk the winding paths, their petals velvety under your fingers, like whispers of forgotten promises. The teacher guides you to a secluded bench by the fountain, its water burbling gently in a rhythm that soothes the remnants of the journey. As fatigue from your bones, and he sits beside you, his presence a steady anchor in this paradoxical haven where killers find peace. You have returned from your mission. The viziers fall a shadow now left behind in Damascus's streets. And here, in the Order's embrace, subtle honors await. Not grand feasts or golden crowns, but the quiet nods of respect from fellow assassins who pass by with knowing glances, their robes rustling softly as they offer a small token, a polished amulet etched with a crescent moon, warm from another's hand, or a vial of rare incense whose smoky tendrils curl upward like prayers ascending to the stars. The Hashashin, known for their austere rewards that emphasized loyalty over luxury, a historical fact reflected in accounts of how Hassan-i-Sabah himself shunned material wealth, focusing instead on spiritual and strategic gains, bestowed honors that bound the soul tighter to the cause, and you feel that pull now as the teacher places the amulet around your neck, its weight a gentle reminder of the brotherhood you swore to in the candlelit ceremony. You sit in the garden's calm, the fountain's murmur, a backdrop to your reflections, pondering the strike's echoes, the vizier's gasp blending with the night's breeze, the guards' shouts fading into the city's hum, and wonder at the philosophical debates that ripple through the order. Is your blade a tool of justice, carving away corruption like a sculptor shapes stone, or merely an instrument in a larger game where one tyrant falls only for another to rise? The air grows cooler, carrying the faint scent of myrrh from a nearby burner, and you trace the amulet's edges, its smoothness akin to the polished stone in your pocket, a quirky detail surfacing that some assassins collected such tokens from each mission, stringing them into hidden necklaces worn only in Alamut's gardens, a personal tally of lives altered that no one else saw. Khalid appears from the shadows, his grin as irrepressible as ever, leaning against a trellis overgrown with vines. Back from glory and all you get is a shiny rock? The vizier probably had better jewelry, should have pocketed his rings while you were at it. You smirk at the jest, the sarcasm, a light poke at the ironies of a killer's peace, where rewards are whispers rather than roars, and he joins you on the bench, sharing a cup of mint tea whose steam curls lazily in the moonlight, its herbal warmth seeping into your hands like a balm for the soul. The teacher speaks then, his voice a low hum, blending with the fountain's song, recounting tales of past missions, where assassins return to these gardens to reflect, debating the weight of their actions. Did the ends justify the means? Or was each strike a step deeper into a moral labyrinth where paradise promised felt ever more distant? You sip the tea, its sharpness cutting through the night's sweetness, and ponder your own path. The training's brutality, the oath's binding words, the journey's deceptive calm, all culminating in that fleeting moment of execution, an act that reshapes history, yet leaves you unchanged, or perhaps profoundly altered in ways you cannot yet name. The garden feels alive around you, the roses nodding as if in agreement, their thorns hidden beneath beauty like the order's own duality. And Khalid quips again, philosophize too much, and you will end up questioning why we do not just send strongly worded letters instead, far less messy, though probably less effective. The dry humor lands softly, a cozy interruption to the introspection, and you nod, feeling the amulet's warmth against your chest as a subtle honor that speaks louder than any parade. The teacher rises, his silver beard catching the moonlight, and leaves you with words that linger. Rewards are not in gold, but in the quiet, knowing that your blade serves a greater shadow. You watch him go, his footsteps fading into the paths, and turn your gaze to the stars tracing constellations that once guided your navigation lessons, now symbols of the vast questions that hover over your life. Was the vizier's death a necessary cut, or just another drop in an endless sea of blood? The fountain's rhythm pulls you deeper into reflection, the garden's tranquility a paradox, where peace blooms from violence, and you think of the flower you spotted on the cliff during your arrival, its resilience a mirror to your own, thriving in harsh soil. Khalid stretches, yawning dramatically. If reflection paid in dates, we would be feasting. Alas, it just makes you hungry for more missions. The joke eases the weight, and you rise together, wandering the paths where moonlight pools like liquid silver, the air cool and invigorating against your skin, carrying the faint echo of a lute from the fortress depths, its melody a haunting thread weaving through your thoughts. The rewards are subtle indeed, a sense of belonging in this hidden world, the respect etched in unspoken glances, the philosophical debates that sharpen your mind like a blade on whetstone, all laced with the irony that a life of shadows grants moments of profound light. You pause by a bed of myrrh plants, their leaves brushing your fingers with a spicy aroma, and consider the order's teachings, the balance of action and contemplation, the debate over whether assassins are agents of fate or mere mortals playing God, a question historians still grapple with in dusty tomes. The garden's calm envelops you, a sanctuary where killers ponder peace, the fountain's endless flow, a metaphor for the cycle of strike and return, and you feel a quiet fulfillment. The mission's success a ripple that will echo beyond your sight, reshaping alliances in ways you may never witness. Khalid bids you good night with a final quip. Sleep well, or the ghosts of viziers past might complain about your technique, and vanishes into the shadows, leaving you alone with the stars and the garden's gentle hum, the amulet a warm presence against your heart. You linger, the tranquility seeping into your bones, reflecting on the ironies. A life devoted to death yielding moments of such serene beauty, the philosophical undercurrents pulling you toward deeper understanding, or perhaps endless doubt. The night deepens, the moon casting long shadows that dance like specters on the paths, and you finally turn toward your cell, the garden's peace a reward in itself, subtle and profound. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A faint rustle in the bushes nearby, too deliberate for the wind, too close for comfort, your hand instinctively reaching for the dagger as a shadow shifts, heart quickening in the moonlit calm. Is this a fellow assassin with news, or has the vizier's fall stirred unseen enemies even within Alamut's walls? The rustle in the bushes reveals itself as a fellow assassin, emerging with a small lantern, its light casting a soft glow that illuminates their face. A trainee you recognize from the courtyard drills, their expression one of quiet admiration as they offer a subtle honor. A woven bracelet of braided leather and a single turquoise bead warm from their palm, whispering that word of the mission's success has spread through Alamut's halls like a gentle wind through the pines. You accept it with a nod, slipping it onto your wrist where it rests beside the amulet, the weight a tangible echo of the rewards that come not in fanfare, but in these fleeting moments of recognition. And the trainee vanishes back into the shadows, leaving you alone in the garden's moonlit tranquility. The fountains murmur a steady companion as you resume your wandering, the jasmine's perfume wrapping around you like a cozy veil against the night's deepening chill. The fortress's gardens are a paradox, a place where blades are forgotten and reflections bloom, and you find yourself drawn to a secluded arbor, overgrown with vines that drip with dew, their leaves rustling softly as you sit on a stone bench, worn smooth by countless others who have pondered here before. The air heavy with the scent of earth and blooming myrrh that invites a deeper introspection on the life you have chosen. The strike in Damascus feels distant now, a memory etched in the dagger's edge, but softened by the journey home, and you ponder the philosophical debates that thread through the order's teachings. Was the vizier's fall a righteous cut against tyranny, or merely a drop in an endless river of blood, where one death begets another, the cycle as inevitable as the fountain's flow? The teacher's words from earlier echo in your mind, his dry amusement underscoring the irony that a killer finds peace in a garden, mimicking paradise. A reward laced with sarcasm, as if the old man of the mountain himself designed this haven to mock the violence it sustains. You run your fingers over the bracelet's bead, its turquoise hue catching the moonlight like a captured star, and recall a lesser-known detail whispered among the elders. Some assassins upon return planted a single seed in these gardens as a subtle honor, a quirky ritual where the growth of a rose or myrrh bush symbolized the life taken giving way to new bloom. Though whether it was atonement or arrogance, historians still wonder, debating if such acts softened the soul or merely decorated the grave. The garden's calm seeps into you, the cool bench grounding your thoughts as you reflect on the mission's ironies. A man who wielded power through corruption met his end by a shadow's hand. Yet here you are rewarded with trinkets and tranquility, the peace of a killer who questions if each strike carves justice or just deeper scars. Khalid's jests come to mind, his sarcastic asides on how the Order's philosophy is just fancy words for stab first, ponder later, and you smile faintly, the humor a light counter to the weighty debates that pull at you, wondering if the ends truly justify the means, when the means stain your hands with blood that no garden's beauty can wash away. The stars above wheel slowly, their patterns a map you once studied for navigation, but now see as symbols of fate as indifferent gaze, and you debate within yourself the Order's code. Never harm the innocent, strike only the marked. Yet what if the market's fall harms innocence in the ripples that follow? A philosophical knot that ties tighter with each reflection. The garden's serenity, our ironic backdrop for such turmoil. The fountain's rhythm lulls you, its water splashing softly like laughter from a distant feast. And you think of the rewards beyond tokens, the subtle honor of survival, the quiet respect in a glance from the teacher, the ironic peace of knowing your blade-shaped history, though at what cost to your own humanity. Debates among scholars outside these walls, who argue if the Hashashin were visionaries or villains, their actions a force for balance or chaos, a question that mirrors your own internal tug-of-war in this tranquil haven. The well-known historical fact of the Order's influence on politics, like the fear they instilled in leaders from Saladin to the Mongols, weighs against the personal toll. The irony that a life of shadows grants moments of profound light like this garden, where killers reflect on peace they rarely know. You rise, wandering deeper into the paths where moonlight pools on the gravel like spilled silver, the air cool against your skin as you brush past lavender bushes, their herbal fragrance a soothing note in the night's symphony, and reflect on the mission's details, the vizier's predictable habits, the guard's lax moments, the dagger's swift arc, all culminating in a death that felt necessary, yet leaves you questioning if philosophy can absolve the act, or if it's just a salve for the conscience. Khalid's voice echoes in memory, his sarcastic quip about how pondering too much turns assassins into poets who rhyme about regret, and you chuckle softly, the sound blending with the fountain's murmur. A light interruption to the heavy reflections that define this reward, a space to debate the ironies of a killer's peace where beauty blooms from blood-soaked soil. The garden feels eternal, its tranquility, a subtle honor bestowed by the order, a place where you can weigh the philosophical scales. Does each strike serve a greater good or erode the soul bit by bit, historians debating the same in chronicles that paint the Hashashin as both heroes and horrors. The bead on your bracelet catches the light, a quirky reminder of the trainee's gesture, and you wonder if such honors are chains or wings, binding you closer to the cause, or lifting you toward some elusive paradise promised in the oaths. The night deepens, the moon climbing higher to cast longer shadows that dance like specters on the paths, and you sit again by the fountain, dipping your fingers into the cool water, its ripple a metaphor for your actions' far-reaching effects, pondering if the vizier's fall will bring justice, or just more tyrants rising in his wake, the irony that your peace here is bought with violence elsewhere. The teacher's philosophy lingers, his dry amusement at how cleverness without discipline is a candle in a gale, now applied to the soul's debates. Reflect too much without action, and you extinguish your purpose, yet act without reflection, and you become the monster you strike down. The garden's calm envelops you, a reward in its purest form, laced with sarcastic asides in your mind about how a killer's paradise is just a well-tended graveyard, the roses thriving on secrets buried deep. You trace the amulet's crescent, its metal warm now from your skin, and debate the Order's legacy. Will history remember you as liberators or terrorists? The philosophical divide as wide as the mountains surrounding Alamut. The fountain's endless flow mirrors the cycle, strike and reflect, reward and doubt, the tranquility, an ironic gift for those who deal in death. A distant lute's melody drifts from the fortress, its notes haunting and beautiful, pulling you deeper into contemplation, the air cool and invigorating as you stand. The garden's peace a subtle honor that lingers like the jasmine scent on your robes. The reflections swirl, philosophical debates on justice and means, ironies of peace from violence, all weaving into a tapestry that defines your path. The reward's not in gold, but in these quiet moments where the soul finds its measure. But just when everything seems safe, something changes. A shadow detaches from the arbor's vines, moving with deliberate grace, your dagger hand twitching as the figure approaches, heart quickening in the moonlit garden. Is this an elder with more honors, or has a rival within the order come to challenge your reflections with a blade of their own? The shadow in the arbor resolves into the teacher's familiar form, his silver beard catching the moonlight as he steps forward with a faint smile. Not a challenge, but an invitation to deeper reflection. His presence a gentle reminder that even in Alamut's gardens the debates of a killer's life never truly end. And he sits beside you on the bench, the fountain's murmur blending with his low voice as he speaks of legacies left in the mists of time. How each assassin fades into the annals of history, like a whisper carried on the mountain winds, their deeds echoing through chronicles and tales that blur fact with legend. You lean back the cool stone against your robe and let his words pull you into imagined futures, where your strike against the vizier becomes a footnote in some dusty tome, a story told by firesides in distant lands, where the Hashashin are myths of ghosts who shaped empires without ever showing their faces. The air around you thick with jasmine, and the faint chill of dawn approaching. The stars above beginning to pale as the sky lightens in the east. The garden feels timeless now, its paths winding like the threads of fate you have tugged with your blade, and you wander them in your mind, envisioning how history will remember you. Not as a name for assassins leave no monuments, but as a shadow that shifted the course of rivers the vizier's fall, perhaps sparking a chain of events where a new leader rises fairer or fouler. The irony that your action plants seeds whose fruits you will never taste. The teacher's tone carries a dry amusement, as if he knows the futility of such ponderings, quipping that legacies are like the garden's roses, beautiful from afar, but prickly up close. And you smile. It's the founder, whose vision built this fortress in 1090, a well-known historical fact that turned a mountain refuge into a legend of terror and intrigue, his legacy, enduring through centuries of crusades and conquests. You rise and walk the paths again, the gravel crunching softly under your sandals, the vines overhead dripping dew that sparkles like forgotten stars, and imagine future echoes of your life, perhaps a scholar in a far-off library, poring over faded scrolls that whisper of the Fedai who struck in Damascus, piecing together quirky details like the polished stone you carry a talisman whose origins are lost to time, or the bracelet's turquoise bead, symbolizing a mission-completed relics that might surface in some archaeologists' digs, sparking debates on whether the Hashashin were revolutionaries or radicals. The garden's tranquility wraps you in a dreamy haze, the fountain's rhythm slowing your thoughts as you reflect on how you fade into history. As mists your deeds, a vapor that lingers in the air of power shifts the vizier's absence, perhaps toppling alliances or forging new ones, a legacy, not in stone but in the subtle reshaping of the world. Ironic that a silent blade speaks louder than armies in the long run. Khalid's voice echoes in memory, his jest about how legends are just exaggerated tavern tales, and you chuckle softly, the sound blending with the nightbird's call, pondering if your story will be twisted into myth, a ghostly assassin who vanished like smoke, or forgotten entirely swallowed by time's indifferent march. The teacher stands his robe rustling as he points to the fading stars, reminding you that legacies are not for the living to claim, but for the future to interpret. Historians still wondering if the Order's strikes were acts of divine justice, or human hubris, a debate that mirrors your own internal whispers in this serene haven. You feel the mists of history enveloping you, a gentle farewell to the life you've lived in shadows, the garden's beauty a final reward before you dissolve into the annals. Your echoes wandering through imagined tomorrows where your blade's cut is a legend whispered to children, or a scholarly footnote debated in halls far from these mountains. The air grows lighter with dawn's approach, the jasmine's scent fading into the crisp morning breeze, and you sense the end of this journey, your legacy, a hazy dream of mystery, and might the fortress standing eternal as you fade, a silent guardian of secrets that time will veil but never fully erase. The teacher bids you good night with a nod, his figure retreating into the paths, leaving you alone with the stars' last twinkles, the garden's peace, a dreamy closure to the echoes of your life, where the mists of history claim you, gently wrapping your story in enduring enigma, and a soft whimsical farewell to the shadows you once commanded. The legacy lingers a vapor trail in time's vast sky, where your deeds blur into myth. The vizier's fall, a spark that ignites tales of ghosts in the night. Ironic that anonymity is the greatest honor, your name lost, but your impact etched in the world's unseen folds. You turn toward the fortress, the paths guiding you back, the fountain's song a lullaby fading behind, the mists rising with the dawn to cloak Alamut in mystery once more. Your journey complete, yet eternally wandering in the imagined futures where assassins like you become legends whispered on the wind. A gentle haze of history's embrace, as the mists of history envelop you, drawing you gently back from the shadowed paths of Alamut, and the echoes of blades that whispered through ancient nights. Let your breath slow, each inhale, pulling in the cool serenity of mountain air, scented with fading jasmine. Each exhale releasing the weight of oaths and strikes that once quickened your pulse, allowing your body to sink deeper into the softness of your resting place, the world around you softening like the glow of dawn over distant peaks. Feel the tranquility settle over you, a warm blanket woven from the garden's peaceful blooms and the fountain's endless murmur, reassuring you that the journey through time has been a safe passage, a dreamlike wander, where dangers were mere stories told in hushed tones, and now as the stars above fade into the velvet of sleep, know that you are held in gentle embrace, your mind, drifting like leaves on a calm stream, carried toward restful shores, where worries dissolve into nothingness. The rhythm of your heart aligning with the quiet hum of the universe itself, easing you into depths where dreams await like old friends. No more shadows to chase, no oaths to bind, only the soothing certainty that all is well, the past a distant memory fading softly, softly into the night. Sweet dreams.